Man, it's just gas.
Okay, so we're talking about, and I'm looking at this article right here, and this is me and Delta Dale. When we're on outside the grid, probably nobody's ever met Delta Dale before. Delta Dale doesn't live in the Delta anymore, but Delta Dale's still here. He's up here in the Upper Timberlands today with me, and we're talking about Dale. This is interesting. I want to share this with some of the people because you just did something that's extraordinary. It's really I wouldn't say totally out of your character, but it's different for you. I don't typically see you doing that kind of thing. But anyway, Dale, I'm not going to tell about the whole disagreement, but Dale had an experience, a dumb experience where he's probably had too much testosterone. His penis felt extremely large one day, and he got into some shit, wound up in jail. And don't mention any names, but I found it interesting because it's like a court case. But tell me about the mail.
It was a court case, Brad.
Yes.
It had to do with close friends, handguns, and alcohol, and plain old stupidity on my fault, on my part for sure. Started with a funeral. It really did. I went to Josh Locklear, God rest his soul's funeral that day. The hippie had asked me to speak at his funeral, and he asked me that 10 years ago, and I laughed about it and told him I would. So I kept my word and went and spoke at his funeral.
Oh, goodness. Really? That's how that day started out?
That is how that day started out. Later that day, after a long drinking binge and an argument with one of my friends over some car keys that he had snatched and firearms being involved, I ended up in jail. In a jail in Hamburg. For those of you that have never had the privilege, it's not somewhere you want to find yourself. You don't want to wake up eating grits that ain't got no salt on them in Hamburg. I promise you that. It was a bad experience. I was there for 64 long days. And during the course of that 64 long days, I ran into difficulties that I'm sure everybody complains about something. It's jail. It's not supposed to be nice, but my difficulties range from things like not getting enough food to other inmates taking other people's food, not taking it physically, like taking it from them. They were the trustees and the people that were fixing the food, and they just wouldn't bring everybody all their stuff. And some of that was racially motivated. Some of it was just plain old hateful stuff. And during the course of my stay there, I ended up having mail trouble, to say the very least. My mail trouble started with a legal envelope that came from federal courthouse in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and it had been opened. And I'm smart enough to know that you can't open people's legal mail, so they let me use the computer for like a legal library access every day. I started delving into legal mail, and sure enough, they had violated my constitutional rights, and I started bitching about it and got ordered a 1983 form. That's how it all got started. Was I ordered a 1983 form, a complaint form through the mail, and it got opened and tampered with, and then I ordered another one, and it got tampered with too. And the ramrod over at that jail, I can't recall his name, said that after the second incident, that after he gave me my mail, he said, "How you like them apples there, Sugarfoot? I opened them too." And I really started complaining then, and lo and behold, that dude, he kept his word to me about making things sour. He told me earlier he'd make life sour if I didn't quit complaining over it, and he did. I don't care what they do to me. I'm not going back to Hamburg. I don't even go through there. I'm scared to go over and get my stuff they took away from me. After it was all said and done, for a battery, I got charged with battery in the third degree, a misdemeanor. I had to get my car out of bond, cost $1,000. They took $1,500 worth of handguns, easily $100 worth of bullets and holsters. My fine was $1,000. My court cost was $210, and I had to pay the public defender $100. And I didn't talk to that cocksucker until day 64. And I only talked to him for 30 minutes. He still wants his $100, and I'm mad, but I'm not paying that. The Dale Cooper Chronicle. Well, stay out of Ashley County.
Let me ask you a question, though. Seriously, if I was going to be drinking, and carrying a gun and weed.
I didn't say I had any weed. I didn't get charged with any reefer.
That's right. Well,
Don't try to read between the lines.
That's right. I did. That's right.
I got breathalyzed on the street and at the police department, and it said I was a .02, and I didn't take any other street drugs that day.
Okay. Well, now, but it's interesting to talk about the experience there, and I'm not saying and this here, this is not going to be locally published. It's on my
some of this stuff, Brad, is just a testament to people that have got bad tempers. Once I lose mine, I'm not the same person. I don't know how to explain that to you. It's like being bipolar or something. I really am two people. If I get all the way mad, it takes me a long time to get over it, and I don't do things that I would normally do if I'm pissed.
I know, and I'm going to tell you this. I've seen that. I've actually heard people, and I've been in a situation like that where you don't even really know what you're doing. You have no clue.
Mad.
You got a mad on it. By God, I got a mad on it. Now, a lot of it never ends out well. I mean, I can't tell you how many.
Never.
I've sat here with my son. I've sat here with my dad and everybody else. Every one of my, and now you, another one of my friends sitting here, and we. There's two things. One, that little old winger of ours cost us millions of dollars of these babies, and number two, our mouth cost us $2 million because of whatever reason. I don't know. I don't know if it's alcohol. I don't ever get in trouble when I'm not drinking. When I'm drinking, I get in trouble, personally, sometimes.
Me too. I'm trying to quit. I'm struggling.
Well, I can tell you've been sober for a few days because you've been in jail.
Yeah,
that was me.
Yeah. I had a good long rehab there over in Hamburg. Nothing else. They did drive me right on out and skinnied me up too. I went in there. I weighed 187 pounds, and I walked out. I weighed 159. They put me on slim fast.
Really? That's what those grits with no.
After they gave him a $14 back and told me my car was at Jones's Record, and I done got my car out, and they couldn't give me a ride back to Crossett. I left from there walking, and Lamar Vesta picked me up at the Sonic Drive-In and took me home.
But now, of course, a lot of this audience out here that would hear this is on Outside of the Grid. It's a podcast that covers true crime, and other kind of stuff. But let's just talk about the jail situation here. Is there a place for people that, most people are like that situation you're talking about. They come in there, they're fucked up, they don't, and they're probably not a bad person. Everybody knows this person. A lot of them in the jail know them. Yeah. But now, if you're really psychological, what do they do with you? For a few days there, what happened?
I actually delved into that too. I seen this happen. The protocol in Ashley County is if you need mental medical attention, they're going to tie your ass up. That's the first thing that's going to happen. They're going to go get the tie-up chair and make you as comfortable as they can while they tie your ass up to the chair it looks like a dialysis chair without no padding. It's a lawn chair, a fancy lawn chair with restraints. If you don't act right, by the time somebody gets there, then they're going to give you some Seroquel. I've seen this happening in my own eyes. Once they get you woke up from the Seroquel, if you won't act right, then they'll give you some more Seroquel, and eventually, if you don't start acting right, I guess they'll take you. They never did take this old boy to the doctor. His name was Chris.
Don't worry about it.
Guy named Chris, and they just kept giving him the Seroquel. And he slept the whole time he was in there. The way the Ashley County Jail works, it's set up in 4 different pods. A woman's pod, all the women are together in one place, and 2 men's pods with 19 cells in each one of them. Both cells have 2 beds, and there are 2 of those pods, and they're not segregated. Most of the people that were in there for meth charges. I mean, it's just that's just the way it was. I talked to almost all the people there. Most of them were facing heavy prison sentences having to do with methamphetamine and pills.
Really,
there were only a couple of violent offenders in there, and one of them was a guy that had stabbed his wife, and me, of course, and another dude had run over his aunt with a car on purpose, and the
How many people?
It was it never was full. The fullest it was while I was there was 42 people.
People just moving in and out all the time.
They're making money. Like for instance, I got arrested in Crossett, and Crossett don't got nowhere to house anybody. There's not a jail in Crossett. Anybody that gets arrested in Ashley County goes to Hamburg. There's not another jail in the county, not a big one where they can house someone.
Yeah.
Think about it, there's not. And they get paid for it. Ashley County was getting paid $351 every 7 days. I think something like that is what they told me they were billing Crossett, and Crossett got billed that for 64 days. Something about the 64 days having to do with by day 64, they've got to have you legally processed. They've got to handed you some paperwork and told you when your first court date is and showed you on paper what you got charged with and the explanation for what you got charged with. It's got to be a legal document with the rubber stamp from somebody down on the bottom saying that you got charged with these charges. And they wait until day 64 to give you the paperwork so that they can bill Crossett. You know what I mean? It was a money maker thing. They billed Crossett all the way up to the last day at my personal expense. I was out of work that whole time. I was out, not counting the weekends, I was out 48 days of work. At hippie wages, it's like $140 a day, $150 a day cash.
What is that, you?
Huh?
That's your phone?
Yeah. Probably some. Lamar Vesta.
Anyway, so...
Anyway, on day 64, they come tell you that you can leave. If it ain't a murder, if you're not in for something really serious on day 64 at Crossett, that's like they got some kind of, that's about as far as like Social Security or Medicare or something. They got a certain amount of days they can keep you, and I'm assuming it was 64 because I talked to a bunch of people that said, yeah, day 64, they put you to the curb and won't give you a ride. You need a ride from Hamburg. Again, it was a horrific place to be.
Expensive.
Huh?
It's very expensive. I better tell you. So
yeah,
now,
they were making good money.
Who paid? Do you have to pay for your stay?
I'm not sure how it worked. They billed me for some stuff. I got a Ashley County jail bill to the tune of $400 that don't got anything to do with fines or restitution or nothing. Just says Ashley County Jail. I'm assuming they charged me for my medication while I was there. Mm-hmm. They charged me for nurse visits. I had to see her 3 or 4 times. I'm old, handicapped. I had to see the nurse a few times. I'm thinking they billed me for all that. And I had the whole time I got Ambetter insurance and everything's free at the doctor's office. They could have just took me to the doctor's office for free, but instead I think they billed me, and I know they did that on my medicine. And I seen where they told me I was going to pay for my prescriptions, and I told them I've got insurance. And they said that ain't the way it works, and they went and got my medicine and billed me for it.
Oh wow. Yeah, it's there was a
moneymaker.
Well, from what I understand, a long time ago, probably in the 90s, they switched it over. It was kind of mismatched everywhere, and so they had these subdivisions. They subbed it out.
I'm sure nobody ever went to jail and thought, "Oh, the food is tremendous here," but what they fed us in Hamburg was it's not fair. It wasn't an honest meal for a prisoner. Yeah. For breakfast, you got 2 sausage patties that were like you could cut them up and make rubber plugs for your tires out of them. 1 biscuit, either grits with no salt or butter or milk or anything, or oatmeal plain with no salt, no sugar, no nothing. You could get salt and sugar from the commissary if you had money, but in my particular circumstances, I didn't have a bunch of money the first couple of weeks I was there to buy salt and sugar. The other people here give it to me. They don't provide any salt or sugar whatsoever. They said because of diabetes, you have to buy salt and sugar and deodorant and shampoo, and you have to buy everything that you need. It's not. They'll give you some deodorant and one little bar of lye soap, but if you want some good stuff, you got to buy it. And you can get the stuff off the commissary was exactly 3 times the cost of the dollar store, where it come from.
Now, how did you communicate with people on the outside? Is it through some kind of laptop?
They've got a kiosk on the wall.
That's what you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, kiosk, they've got a kiosk and they've got a telephone, and their kiosk and telephone is together, and your people on the outside has got to put money on the kiosk from outside so that you can use it from the inside. They've got to come up. You can come up. It's a machine. Looks like a slot machine in the front of the sheriff's office, in front of the jail in Hamburg. Just walk up to it and put in my number if I was in jail and put money on my books right there. And immediately the commissary comes on Thursday every week, and you got to turn it in by Wednesday. So if you put it in there on Tuesday, I didn't have money by Thursday. But the only thing I really needed from that commissary was clothes. Man, it was so cold in there, and you just had it was horrific. It was like,
how do you spend your days when you were in there? There's 64 days.
I read everything they had in there in the first week, all of the literature, everything, even the books I didn't want to read. I scooped that all up. So then I let in on the Bible, I had the Old Testament knocked out in a couple of days. I'm a pretty voracious reader.
Yeah.
And I started delving into that tangled up old tale of the Old Testament, which is all pretty far-fetched if you ask me, and hard to read. It ain't chunky. It's not good reading.
Yeah.
Finally I worked my way to love novels that the chicks would send over there, like Harlequin magazines. That's exactly what a fella needs in jail. Man,
my Lord,
just horrific. And the highlight of a person's week in the Ashley County Jail is chicken night. On Sunday night, you get a chicken leg quarter and a piece of cornbread, corn, and a piece of cake. That was the big meal. That was everybody over there is when they see that on Sunday nights going, thank the Lord.
Now, y'all have to work or anything? No?
No, work would have been a blessing, man, to get out of there, out around the other people and stuff. Yeah, you're in the building.
Do you ever go outside?
1 hour per day.
Really?
Yeah.
And you're like, doing what?
It's walk around on a concrete pad. It's about 40 by 40 concrete square fence. Oof. You're outside with concrete walls, nowhere to sit down, no benches, no stools, no nothing. You can't take nothing out there to sit on. I didn't go outside but once.
Really?
Yes.
No shit?
One day.
Why?
With nowhere to sit down. I'm old. I can't walk around no hour. Once you went out there, you had to stay out there the whole hour. You couldn't come back in. You either went out for an hour or you didn't go out. And it's cold, and I said, fuck it. I didn't want to go out there with them dudes anyway. Some of them didn't like me.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think about this and some other things I've heard just watching this case that I think it would be applicable for people. But, we talked about this mental health thing.
There were absolutely no safeguards for someone that was genuinely mentally ill in that facility. None whatsoever. Nobody to diagnose it. They weren't even trying to kick the ball down the road on this one fellow that I knew that needed. He wasn't paranoid schizophrenic crazy, but he actually was prescribed some mental meds on the street, not on the street, but from his doctor, and they weren't providing them for him. And he wasn't near breakdown pulling his hair out or anything, but he was agitated, and they didn't get him any help, and there wasn't any help for him. The only help I seen them get that dude was tie his ass up.
So Seroquel, you mentioned that. What now? Have you ever had it?
Yes, I've taken Seroquel. I don't know exactly what it's for. But it will lay you out if you take. I don't know what milligram it was or anything about the ones that I took. All I know is that I got them from a friend of mine on the street. And he said these will help you sleep, and I took them, and they did. They were sleeping pills.
Did you wake up groggy from it?
No.
No? Okay.
I did not.
So that would help them sleep 8 hours, whatever.
Oh yeah, I would have gave anything for some of them Seroquels in that jail. Sleep was something that you prayed for.
What do you mean by it's cold in there?
It was freezing cold all the time. I got there on September the 5th, and by the time I left, it was November. And a couple of nights in November, it frosted, and they didn't turn no heat on, and it was freezing cold in there. Not for my daughter. My daughter gave me money on the commissary to get long johns, thermal underwear. I've got them on right now. Same pair. They're in there.
Somewhere.
Yeah. I got them on the same pair. If I wouldn't have got those, I would have froze to death. And I still was shaking at night. You could take the blanket up to the bars and hold it up, and you could see the people through the blanket. It was thin. Wow. It was terrible. It was everything about the place was terrible. The mattress was plastic coverage. You didn't get a sheet. You didn't get a pillow. I've seen people with their dog pens in better shape than the jail in Hamburg. I'm not joking. It was that bad. I understand it's not supposed to be nice. It wasn't.
I've heard a lot of people say that jails everywhere. Now that's just like I said. I walked into one. I did a tour of those prisons over in the Delta, Barner, and all those places, and that was some scary shit. But now you mentioned you left out of there with a misdemeanor. A lot of people in there are not, or I hear are not there with felonies. They're there just because of some drunken shit.
They had. I was charged with a felony, and the whole time they knew they were going to plead it to a misdemeanor, and they kept me in jail to make that money off of CrossFit, all the way up to the last day, in inhumane conditions. Inhumane conditions that until you actually experience it, you can't explain it to somebody. I'm telling you, things are bad over there. You know, the whole time they knew they were going to plead me to a misdemeanor that I paid the fine for. I mean, nobody goes to jail for 64 days for a misdemeanor.
Sounds like a lot.
That sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
Plus, my fine was $1,000 court costs, jail costs. I'm out thousands of dollars on a misdemeanor. I'm not feeling like I got justice served. I really ain't. And what am I going to do? Who am I going to complain to? You? Go find Mr. Spain and complain to him? He's done heard my belly aching and told me to have a good day.
Well,
Mr. Spain, I'll give him his props where they're due. He's cutting dry.
Well, you know what? I mean, I've had to deal with it before. I got the thing that I had to deal with, and I got so scared from it, I never did want to have an interface with it again. That's a DUI.
Yeah, I had one.
2007, January the 13th, 2007. I woke up out at about 4 o'clock in the morning. I was going through a divorce. I had me a big old drink, and I got in the car and I drove down the road. Now I never did go to a jail, so I walked in the front, and I had on a do-rag, camouflage pants, and sandals. Just looked horrible. And I walked out the front of that, but it was the best thing I ever had. I didn't walk to the jail. Somebody picked me up. I went home and I stayed sober for about 6 to 7 years after that. You hear me? So that shit scared enough me just walking in that thing and me thinking of losing my fucking ability to move around, and it scared the shit out of me.
Oh my God!
But
after about once it set in on me that I wasn't leaving till them 64 days was up. Damn, it was a long 64 days. It was.
And it's it's
frustrating to not have anything to do and not be able to leave. Somebody telling you what to do. It is trying.
I don't want to be there. No, that shit scared the shit out of me. I'm telling you, just the thought of it. And when I saw those people, I got locked in a little room, a little foyer. They had a lockdown in the maximum security over there, wherever I think it was Varner. Anyway, the guy that was on death row was in the fucking little pen with us. Okay? Yeah. He's sitting there, and he's the one that keeps his fingers in his ear and keeps his bleeding all the time. And I think he may still be alive. I don't know what happened to him. He's supposed to have been executed back several years ago. I'm locked in there, and this motherfucker's hand is hanging off of his bed, touching my leg. I'm like, man, there's only about 2 more fucking seconds of this I'm gonna handle for. I'm gonna start fucking going ballistic. About that time that fucking shit opened back up again and we could flow, I was the happiest motherfucker. And to get out, when I walked out of there, I was like, man, I'm telling you, just those little 2 innocent interfaces with it, one doing the DUI, the other being a tour for looking at their nursing program. And I'm gonna tell you, anybody that works in those places, I mean, there's a lot of good people in there, that got twisted up into bad things, but there's also some crazy motherfuckers in there,
Yeah.
Killers and shit.
Yes, bad people.
Bad people. I mean,
yeah, that'll kill you.
What is evil? What makes people, want to not give a shit about the shit like
evil
that?
Is
what is that?
Evil is something that man came up with. It wasn't. You ain't born evil. It's a learned process. You can't just. It ain't something that comes from the womb. You got to teach that to a motherfucker. Life experiences and hell, I've experienced it. I've done stuff before that's just ghastly to myself and to others. I can't explain it. Everybody's got 2 sides. We're all Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde if you push the right buttons.
Yeah. Well, you kept yourself mostly out of trouble over these years. You went to college some.
Yeah, I did.
You did. You did. I mean, you've.
I'd like to go back. I ain't paid Big Brother back yet. I didn't get forgiven on the whole deal. I would have thought they would forgive me for my old burdensome student loans, but didn't happen.
You know when I paid mine off? 49 years old.
49.
And I just charged up the graduate school.
I paid off my sons. I still owe them $6,000.
So you can't go to school now. I bet
could
there's
if
a
I
way.
paid cash.
No, I bet there's a grant you could get. There's got to be.
Probably, I would think, but I know I can go if I pay cash. It ain't that expensive to go. $1,500 a semester, I think.
That's a lot of money whenever you already got other shit to go on.
Make you want to pass for sure.
You didn't have to.
I ain't that terribly far from getting an associate's degree in something. I took a bunch of.
I think you should
took
do
a
it.
bunch of criminal justice classes. I was already taking 2,000 classes in that, and I was taking some 3,000 psychology classes, and I was doing well in those.
I would love it to see you fucking do a. You have to become a deputy.
No way! I am not the police. That is not gonna happen. I would be the sheriff. I'd like to have his damn job.
Well, everybody would. That's a good job. The motherfucker earned it though.
That is up in the air. What do you know about the high sheriff?
Well, I'm gonna just tell you this, and I'm not going. I don't know anything about the man, but I can tell you this: if you get to that level, you can say whatever you want to.
Yeah,
but you got it there.
He got elected.
Yeah, he got elected. But anyway, I appreciate you talking with us on this, man. I'm gonna sign off this part.